Enough Said is the name of the program. My name is Dan Barreiro, joined as always by Justin Gaard, and Lori Fisher will get us all started as she customarily does. Hi, Lori.
Hi, and you say always. We've been together for a while now, a couple weeks. We're on a roll, everybody.
Correct.
So when are you off next? That's where this is leading.
No, it's
the second part of the question.
Dan is
I'll be off
next.
before you are.
That's
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
That's right. Couple weeks.
And then we have a holiday, and then I think we're together for a while.
Magical.
At least you guys haven't put any time off requests in yet.
Well, we'll see.
Okay,
that could
for
change.
later this summer. Protests are planned for tomorrow across the country, including here in St. Paul over immigration and customs enforcement. The demonstrations, called No Kings, coincide with President Trump's 79th birthday and a military parade Saturday night in Washington, D.C. Things started heating up in Los Angeles last week after a string of raids by ICE, followed by Trump deploying the National Guard without the California governor's support, Dan.
Yeah, there's a million tentacles to the story. We're probably not going to be able to cover all of them today.
A lot going on at the moment, as Taylor Swift would say.
If we can expand to an hour on the fly, that's a possibility, but I don't think Lori's going to let us do that. You know, some of the most interesting, I think, best reporting on this story has come out of the Wall Street Journal.
Yes.
And what we seem to be learning is, in Trump world, if somebody comes in with a chart that says, Mr. President, your deportation numbers have now dipped below those of your predecessor,
Joe Biden.
In this case, Joe Biden, then it's all hands on deck, leaving out one of the reasons that the numbers are down is that the president's administration has done the job at the border, right? That's why the deportations have gone that low. But in Trump world, instead of just taking that as a victory, it's, wait a minute, I got to get the numbers. I can't. That's embarrassing if my numbers are below Joe Biden. So he dispatches his guys at Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller.
And
yep.
they have a big staff meeting, and they basically say, boys,
they bring ICE in from all over the country.
This ain't working.
Yep.
The numbers have got to be higher than that. So you know that stuff we said about we just want to get criminals and really bad guys? We're going to have to broaden that out. So let's just start hanging out at, I don't know, Home Depots or near them or 7-Elevens, and let's just start nailing whoever we can cast in the wider net, and we'll worry about the details later. That's the sad truth I think we're learning behind the scenes about how you end up in the pathetic place we are in this story. And the upshot, as we talked about on the radio, is now the president is quoted. Let me give you the direct quote.
Right.
People who've been here for 20 to 25 years and worked great, and we're supposed to throw them out? Can't do that to the farmers and leisure hotels. We'll have to use common sense on that. How about using common sense on this from the beginning?
From the beginning.
And by the way, how about also caring not just about the farmers and the people who run hotels, but the individuals who you are gassing up and changing and ruining their existences? Is there any place for that discussion?
Not really. We've talked about the blunt force trauma, right? Even going back to Doge, act first, be dramatic, and then backtrack later. That's what it seems like is happening here. That Wall Street Journal story that you mentioned is worth everybody's time. There are 4 authors on it, 4 writers on it, and it does lay out some stuff. The only thing I'll add, Dan, is this is probably asking too much, because I agree with pretty much everything you said right there. This is one of those times, too, and this is probably asking too much, where you have to double check what you're reading, double check what you're seeing. And this might sound impossible. There's a video of a bunch of cars burning, right? That's being thrown out there as this doesn't
LA's on fire.
Doesn't look like peaceful protest to
right.
me. What's the amendment about the video? It's from 2020. Then there's a video of an individual saying they just went and raided an elementary school graduation. And kids are clinging to their parents and we don't know what's going on. Well, the LA Times tells us that never happened either, right? So we're again in this spot where you're going to believe whatever you want to believe. A lot of people are predisposed already on these topics to believe what they already believe to be true. But just let's be careful with what we're amplifying, what we're throwing out there, because on both sides on some of this stuff, it's not as dramatic as you might originally think.
There's a boxer named Ryan Garcia. Did you see what he had to say?
I don't think so.
I think he may even be based in LA. He writes, I may have voted for Trump, but I can't stay silent about what's happening with ICE in LA. These aren't just illegals or statistics, they're people.
Right.
Hardworking immigrants, especially Mexicans, who pay taxes, raise families, build our communities, and are part of the people we love. Ripping them away from their homes is not just policy, it's pain.
Right.
We can have borders without losing our humanity. That's a terrific statement that I think encapsulates this whole thing very effectively. And as I say again, you had a victory at the border.
Right.
But obviously in Trump world, that's not enough. And so what do we get to? We get to a place now where we have what happened in LA, other cities, and to a certain extent it's all connected to what's going to be going on this weekend as well.
Next up, earlier this week, singer Sly Stone of Sly and the Family Stone passed away at 82 years old. Danced to the music, thank you, hot fun in the summertime. And then 2 days later, Beach Boys co-founder Brian Wilson died, also 82 years old, just 20 when he and his band signed with Capitol Records. Fun, 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 God Only Knows, Good Vibrations. My favorite, Surfer Girl. I don't know about you guys, but both men iconic, Dan.
Yeah, you know, it's we have a challenge on the radio show where I say, okay, I was alive for when the Beach Boys were huge and when Sly and the Family Stone was dominant on the musical scene, but the kids don't know the names, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or they may know the names, but they're not connected to the music because they didn't grow up with it.
Right.
So then you'd go with, well, how far do you want to go with it? And I think it's worth spending time on, even if they can't relate, as the young people listening or watching can't relate, because of their musical influence, as has been confirmed by many artists who are popular now, who say they learned so much from Sly Stone in terms of, Prince is the best example of that, obviously.
Yep.
It's almost like a direct line between Sly and Prince. And then, on the Beach Boys side, it was even, you had, at the time, folks like the Beatles saying, oh my God, did you hear their latest album? We've got to do something sonically. We've got to do something more sophisticated on the basis of the sounds that were really definitely more sophisticated than just, Surfer Girl. Or the lyrics themselves made it seem like it was all so simple. And a lot of the Brian Wilson stuff a lot later was not simple at all.
Right. To your point about the influences, let's just stay with Brian Wilson. Paul McCartney, mysterious sense of musical genius, made his song so achingly special. The notes he heard in his head and passed on to us, simple and brilliant at the same time. Elton John. Everybody's heard of Elton John, right? Regardless of age, if you know any music.
Yeah.
The biggest influence on my songwriting career. Just think about that statement. We kind of talked about this with Jim Marshall last week. When you're not as connected to it because of age, like you say, who do you listen to? You listen to people that came after. We're not talking about Caitlin Clark quite yet, but we'll talk about people that came before. People that came after, what they were interested in, how they were influenced by it. And these are some of the heavyweight names. And just on the Beach Boys in general, when you grow up in the Midwest, you know nothing about California, right? You know nothing about the beach. And the Beach Boys did seem, no matter your age, I'm just talking about for me growing up, it did seem like, wow, that's California, that's Hollywood, that's the beach, that's the West Coast.
It was mystical.
Yeah, it does feel magical, right? And so that's what the Beach Boys, I would say, brought to me in my upbringing.
Somebody, and I don't remember who wrote this, and it so often it seems like it's the case. In both the cases of Brian Wilson and Sly Stone, they created the kind of music that was wonderful escape, right, for their audiences, and yet in their own lives, it never really seemed to have that same or provide that same comfort. They were constantly, they had different issues, they battled different demons, but very significant demons. And a lot of times that's the case with obviously with musical geniuses.
Enough
but
said.
that's a sad part of the story for both of them, that it seemed as if they were so tortured. Is that part of it? Is it all connected to the genius? We'll never know, but it is an interesting side note.
Give us a few bars of Surfer Girl.
You want to do Surfer Girl right now?
Give us a little Surfer Girl, Lori. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think the audience would love to hear some Surfer Girl.
Little song, da, da, da.
I guess I was wrong.
I don't know all the words.
It's a start.
Do you love me? Do you, Surfer Girl, Surfer Girl? Did you know that Brian Wilson never surfed?
Didn't.
Not surprised to hear it.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
That's wow, but I know they were much more than Surfer Girl.
Yeah.
This is one that sticks with me. And Hot Fun in the Summertime, I think, is a classic.
Oh,
it's a great song.
So good. The Lynx' 9-game winning streak, unfortunately, over after they lost to the Seattle Storm on Wednesday. They play Saturday at home against the Los Angeles Sparks. But meanwhile, USA Today says WNBA ratings are way down since Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark's injury. That's okay.
She's been careful saying it.
You might get in trouble.
Okay, well, I'm quoting USA Today.
I know.
Nielsen
Fact
ratings.
you're saying?
Yeah.
But Caitlin Clark, she's been out for a while now after getting hurt a few weeks ago, Dan.
I think she's supposed to, they're hoping she's going to be back for a game against the only remaining undefeated team, the hated New York Liberty, which I think is on the she's supposed to, they're playing on the 14th.
Okay.
What's the date today?
The 13th, so
so
Saturday.
that would be tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. And, again, I don't know that we needed to know this, but it's confirmed that whether you like it or not, Caitlin Clark elevates all boats in the WNBA, and the ratings have been cut by 50%. The interesting controversy has been, wait a minute now. You moved all these games, other teams, to bigger arenas.
Yeah.
I went and got tickets, and now she's not going to be able to play. I want my money back.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people demanding refunds. I don't think you can give them refunds.
You can't do that.
You
no.
can't really do that. But it further speaks to the phenomenon that is undeniable. The numbers do not lie, and the ratings have basically been sliced in half without her.
So I'll ask you this question. Will this end the stupidity?
No.
I know there has
because people don't want to hear it.
I know, and that's why I was
they
joking
roll their
with Lori
eyes
to
when
be
they're
careful.
told it. Yeah.
And I noticed this USA Today thing too, and I said, look out because they're coming for you. But it is just reality. It doesn't mean that the other players aren't good. It doesn't mean
worthy.
that
Correct.
the other players aren't worthy of our respect. It doesn't mean that if you like watching it, you have to apologize for it. It almost feels like you have to defend your right to watch other players. I like watching the rest of the WNBA.
Starting with Nafisa Collier.
Exactly right. How much have we talked about how fun it is to watch Nafisa and what the Lynx are doing right now? I also love, by the way, that they lose one game and Cheryl Reeve acted like they were 0-9, which is brilliant. Basically saying Seattle did whatever they want. We showed no ability to match any of their intensity, which is great.
That's not new school, by the way.
No, but that is the Lynx standard, right? And that is part of the reason why they're good. But do we talk about, we're seeing it in the NBA too. This isn't just a female issue. The NBA Finals ratings are down as well, right? Not 50%, but the lowest they've been in a while. Why?
Yeah.
Because people aren't that interested in Tyrese Halliburton or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Doesn't mean that they're not incredible. Shai just won the MVP, but for whatever the reason, they haven't captured the imagination like a LeBron or Steph Curry.
Okay,
has.
I got it, Dan. It's little surfer, little one, made my heart come all undone. Do you love me? Do you, surfer girl?
Again, the 2-2, a swinging fly ball, left center field. Evan Carter going back. He will turn. Back it goes and gone. Byron Buxton with a tape measure shot to left center field. One swing of the bat, and the Twins have a 3-2 lead.
Seats. Those are my seats.
Yeah,
the
did you
Delta
catch that ball?
360. No, I usually stand on the other side. The Buck truck 479 feet to center field. Wednesday night's game against the Rangers. What a night for him. But unfortunately for the Twins, they lost 16-3 on Thursday. They're also shaking up the bullpen. They traded a pitcher, Jorge Alcala, for the Boston Red Sox, or to the Boston Red Sox, for a minor league prospect, Andy Lugo. I think I'm saying that
Andy
right.
Luger?
Andy Luger?
Not Andy, not the Andy, not your best friend,
Wow.
Andy Luger.
Okay. Well, he's got
Andy
nothing
Lugo.
else to do right now. you know. Well, you left out. I think there was
Probably a lot.
16-3 and 16-4.
Yes.
And the Buxton
that's
game
tough.
was in between. The stat I saw is that since the news broke that Pablo Lopez was out for now, we know, an
Basically
extended
September.
period.
Yeah.
The starting pitcher's ERA is over 7, which is not helpful. You're obviously already seeing some signs of what happens when you lose a top-end starter. And then we saw signs that Bailey Ober, who we were kind of counting on as being one of the guys who will be an anchor, who seemed to be in a much better mode, right?
Yes.
Last season and early into this season. Now he's got allegedly mechanics issues and injury issues, and he got shelled. So let's face it, if the pitching, if they can't get something consistent from the starting pitching, whatever's left of it, I think it's a house of cards. I think the whole thing could collapse in on itself very easily because the offense still is not, I think, consistent enough to say you're going to build everything on your offense carrying your team. So they're in a very vulnerable period in a division that, as we said, is not as forgiving as the AL Central has tended to be over the years.
Well, right now, Detroit's kind of running away with it, right? It's 7.5 or 8 games their lead right now over the Twins. Now, thankfully for the Twins, because they've kind of meandered here the last couple of weeks after that really hot stretch where the pitching was sensational. Cleveland has kind of meandered as well, right? Kansas City has kind of meandered as well. So since they got second place in the division, nobody's really overtaken them. But you're right. I wrote down trying time for the pitchers because they're just, I don't know where the light at the end of the tunnel is. And the most depressing part is trade deadlines win like a month and a half, somewhere around there. And everybody knows where that story's ending, right? There's not going to be some magical trade deadline surprise with the Pohlad family.
Not unless a new owner comes in within the next 6 weeks.
And so that's kind of where you do worry long term of if help's not going to come internally, and other guys have struggled, most notably Bailey Ober, like you said, it's not coming externally, or if it did, it would be about as dramatic a 180 departure from what we're used to with this franchise and with this front office. So they basically just have to tread water and hope that nobody hits a surge and jumps over them here, not just in the division, because that's kind of irrelevant at the moment. It's more about the wild card, right? And they're still in a good spot there, but things can change.
So, yeah, I heard one of the ball guys say, I don't know that I follow this logic. One of the ball guys said, well, one of the reasons that the Twins probably won't be that ambitious at the break is you don't want to add debt to a team that already has too much debt. That's not very attractive to a new owner.
Oh, my gosh.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking? What are you
Well,
smoking?
I get why that makes sense, but how sad is that?
Well, it's sad, but I'm also not even sure that it has that impact on a new owner. There might actually be some impact saying if the team somehow is able to stay afloat and stays in the race, that in itself makes it a more attractive product because people are showing up to watch it as well.
Enough said.
Yeah, that's true. And what's an extra $5 million of debt going to do in $1.5 billion acquisition?
These guys are all billionaires.
Yep.
Dan, I got to tell you, though, guess what is pushing Enough Said exactly a week from tonight?
Don't know.
Got to be a Twins game.
Twins Brewers right here on Fox 9.
Oh, that'll be fun.
We're also making, we're doing the Twins are getting their first national Sunday night game. That's not on Fox, I don't think.
No, I don't.
In like 5 or 8 years, I think.
I
so
did see
they're
that.
finally paying. I think. Well,
Okay,
it's
playing the
next
Tigers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word on the street is the Wolves said to the Knicks, no, nuh-uh, you're not taking and talking to Coach Chris Finch for that open head
What'd they
coach
say?
position. No, you're not.
Oh, my gosh.
Talking to them.
It's another Beach Boys song, I think. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the NBA Finals still underway. The Indiana Pacers leading Oklahoma City Thunder 2-1 right now in the best of 7. What can the Wolves take away from all of this, Dan?
Well, Garza, you start. What lessons do you see? Even though obviously there's, the Pacers still have a ways to go.
Well, not turning the ball over helps.
Yeah.
The Pacers, after turning the ball over 19 times, I think, in the first half of Game 1, the game that they stole, they only turned it over 6 times after that. And what we had heard, even what we heard, going back to Game 2, just limit turnovers against Oklahoma City is a fallacy. You can't do it. It's not possible. Well, the Pacers are showing us that it is possible. 13 turnovers the other night. That's how Oklahoma City wants to roll, right? That's how they get their big leads. SGA does his thing. They turn you over. They score in transition, especially in OKC. Their building's on fire. You start making more mistakes. You start melting down. The Pacers not only survived Game 1 with the turnovers because the Thunder, for whatever reason, didn't score that night off of those turnovers. That's my biggest takeaway. It's possible to take care of the ball against Oklahoma City, and it's possible for your bench players to actually make a meaningful contribution in high-stakes games, which the Timberwolves, too few and far between, did in that Western Conference Finals, really for 2 years in a row.
I think, and it's the way the league has changed. This isn't necessarily just a way to knock off Oklahoma City. I think it's a way to be more effective and give yourself a greater chance to go far no matter who you're playing.
Right.
Is the Pacers have 2 ball handlers who can play together and who each individually, when I say ball handlers, I don't mean just guys who can dribble. I mean guys who can make plays, breaking people down and scoring. And that's part of what I think the big offseason push is going to have to be. Mike Conley probably at the very least going to the bench.
Right.
But then who do you get? That's the thing. But you need to have, I think, 2 people who can handle the ball. I think that's a big part of going forward. And the other thing is, defensively, as good as we like to think the Wolves can be, they were not as good against Oklahoma City. And maybe some of that, again, we're told when our offense goes bad, it sort of seeps over into the defense because we're hanging our heads because our offense isn't going good. But their defense needs to be better. And somebody else said something the other day on Exit, I think actually for a change made sense. I think the Wolves probably need to get in better shape as a team.
Yes.
You look at the way the Pacers and even Oklahoma City, up and down, the pace is unbelievable. We think we're in good shape, but are we in that kind of championship shape?
Well, other than Jaden McDaniels, who can play 48 minutes and never get tired.
True.
But Edwards for sure. Right?
No doubt.
Because he does take time off during the game.
He does.
He's talked about being worn down a
little bit.
little
Doesn't move offensively if he doesn't
Well, they
have
got
the
his
ball.
diet figured out, right? Took the Cheetos away. Wasn't that the storyline?
That was part of it.
Well, they wanted to do that. Remember, Karl
ago.
Anthony Towns was mad about his fast food stuff. But he's a worker, too. That's what doesn't make sense. He works on his game.
We're gonna move on.
He could very easily do the conditioning as well.
We're going to stay on lessons learned, but we're going to talk about hockey. Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final is tomorrow night. The Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers are tied 2-2 in the series right now. What lessons have we learned, or can the Wild learn from those playoffs and put them to use next season, Dan?
Well, first of all, I would say, we're talking apples and oranges here because the Wild have so much further to prove that they're capable of going.
Right.
Despite our frustrations about the Wolves hitting this plateau, and can they take it to the next step? In the case of the Wild, I think what I see when I watch these two teams, and it was a remarkably great game last night. It's over, right? I'm declaring it over at the end of the first period.
Right.
3-0 lead, and Edmonton comes back, ties it with 3, goes ahead, and then they end up winning the thing in OT. But when I watch, it just looks to me like there's so much more top-end talent than we have. It's not. In our case, it's Kaprizov, basically, right?
Right.
Boldy's
had some good moments, but
that's true.
He's probably not there yet.
Both of those teams, though, it looks like they've got more hot top end, and I feel like they're so much deeper that it to me it feels very daunting to watch, because I don't buy that. Well, just get in the tournament,
right?
Couple of breaks, hot goaltender, things go your way, not to win 16 games. To me, if you're a Wild fan, I think you should be depressed by it.
Great depth for Florida for sure,
yes.
Right? And they made some nice additions, and their run might about be over because of some salary stuff that they have to deal with in the next couple of years. I'll get the hockey community going on the way out here, Dan, before we go to break. I'll see what you think of this as well. Wasn't what happened on Thursday night, Edmonton's response to getting killed, so much more appealing than it was, what night was that? Monday night, when they're getting killed and they just decide, we're just going to hurt people. We're just going to fight people. We're just going to get 84 penalty minutes. We're going to give up and basically just punt on this game. Because everybody thought the same thing. And what did we hear in the interim? Well, they sent a message for Game 4. Well, the message was so good, they immediately got down 3-0 after one game. That's how scared Florida was of them. So I'm with you. I thought it was over. What did they do? They fought back. Rather than say, we're just going to send another message, we're just going to punt on this game too, they got themselves back in it, and now they're back in the series, and that's what I loved about it. As annoyed as I was on Monday night, and you know how annoyed I was, anybody that follows me on Twitter knows, I couldn't have been more pleased with the response that Edmonton had with their backs firmly against the wall. Not only is the game over, the series and season might be over, and they responded and now have given themselves a chance. It was outstanding.
Welcome back. Vikings minicamp. The camp is underway at TCO in Eagan. Dan, what are we watching?
What we're watching we're learning, being confirmed again, that everybody looks unstoppable in minicamp.
Including this guy.
Including the QB.
Look how it spins off his hand.
But remember, this is the message that's delivered from literally every mini camp in the National Football League this time of year, even if the team's terrible. Doesn't mean the Vikings can't be good, but it's over the top this year, man. It's
and finally, because we're a really tight show tonight, I have another personal question to end with. Do your dogs sleep in your bed with you?
Yes.
Because according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, 46% of us let our dogs sleep in our bed, and it is not. There's Bomber in my bed.
Yeah.
They're not good for our sleep cycle. Go figure, Justin.
No, they're not. Old dog did. New dog, not really yet, but definitely wants to. And that's the nightly challenge right now in our house, trying to win that battle.
Don't do it.
There are a lot of people, who are anti the whole concept.
Yeah,
of
I know.
Period. I've never related to them, but that's what they say.
I don't mind it, but like Lori said, it's not great for you all the time. So we're trying to get some boundaries, but we'll probably lose.
And why do we move over for the dogs? That's what I don't get.